And I got to tell you, I'm really glad to be here this morning. It's been a week. It's been an interesting week. You know how sometimes you have those interesting weeks? I had an interesting week last week. It started, when was it? It started with my mom. A lot of you have been asking me about my mom. Where's my mom? Where's my sister? And what happened was about a month ago, she bumped her ankle and got an infection. She's 93. These things happen. And so she's been taking antibiotics to combat the infection and all of that. So last week, she wasn't doing well. Her stomach was upset. And then it kind of got worse, and she started throwing up. And she wouldn't eat, she wouldn't drink. And she's 93. So we're looking at her going, well, Mom, just put it right out there. Are you leaving? What are you doing, Mom? You don't want to eat, you don't want to drink, you're kind of complaining all the time. Is this your exit strategy? Because we'll love you no matter what you do. No, she was telling us it was not her exit strategy. So after one particularly rough night, my sister Margaret took her to the emergency room. And she was pretty dehydrated. So they filled her up with IV fluids, and I don't know if you've ever been seriously dehydrated and gotten an IV. I haven't. It's wonderful. Boy, it's just better than any drugs. You get this fluid in you, and for me, I just came back into my body. I could think again. I was me. I had a sense of myself, whereas when you're dehydrated, you're kind of floating around. I think that's why on vision quests, they don't let you drink because they want to make up that sense of separateness and otherworldliness and kind of stepping out into the other realms. But she got her IV and she just came back. Skin color was good, eyes were bright, she started talking and making sense and all of that. But by then we were in the system. And we were in the medical system, and the medical system is really good if you need something, like you need an IV or you've been in an accident or something like that. But there gets to be complications when you have a lot of different things going on. So as we sat in the emergency room with my mom on Wednesday, Thursday, whenever that was, there was a parade of doctors coming in and out, and a lot of paperwork being filled out, and a lot of tests being run. And then the emergency room doctor came in and said, we've done a CAT scan, and we have found a mass in your pancreas. And Margaret and I looked at each other and said, well, that's why the diabetes started a couple of years ago, because something's going on with her pancreas. She's 93. Oh, we found this mass. And Margaret was pretty sure that it was the antibiotics that were upsetting her stomach and why she didn't want to eat or drink, because every time she would take antibiotics, she would throw up. So there seemed to be a causal relationship to that was pretty cut and dry. But then they admitted her and they put her in a room and all of that. And we were still having this very frank conversation. Mom, how are you doing with all of this? You know, doctors coming up and getting right in her face and saying, do you understand what we're telling you? There's a mass. There's a mass. And it's not the Catholic kind. And she was doing pretty well. She had a lot of visitors. We called it the party room. And she was having a lot of stimulation and a lot of happy experiences. I played a couple of songs on my phone to her, and she was tapping her feet. And she said, you know, I've had 95 good years. She gave herself a couple of years. I've had 95 good years. I'm happy with my life. Whoa. What a powerful affirmation. I've had 95 good years. I'm happy with my life. And so there were specialists that would come in. And there was a palliative care physician who was just so sweet. But palliative care in and of itself means you're end of the road care. And that was after the prescription for hospice had been written out. And she's still saying, I'm fine, I'm not leaving, I'm staying. So this palliative care doctor came in, a woman, she was great. She was chatting, talking to my mom and about her life, and we were saying, yeah, until that foot thing happened, boy, she was up and around and walking and riding in the car, going to church every week. And the woman said, oh, church. What church do you go to? And my mom, without missing a beat, keep in mind this woman has been off food and water since she got brought into the emergency room, so she hasn't had any liquid in her mouth, but she perked right up and said, I go to the Center for Spiritual Living. And the woman looked at her a little puzzled and said, well, what's that? And I was so proud of my mom. Because, you know, she comes here every week, and she's really cute, and she gets a lot of attention, but I don't really know why she's coming other than she's having a good time and Margaret brings her. She was raised Southern Methodist, and she had that for, let me see, if she's been here 5 years, she's had that for 88 years of her life, spoon-fed to her from infancy. She's been coming here 4 or 5 years. And she looked at that woman and said, we believe we can have anything that we ask for, but you have to do it inside. It's inside of you. Margaret spun her head around and looked at me and said, she's been listening. So the palliative care doctor was kind of taken aback and changed the subject. And we were all just having a wonderful time. She was happy. We were happy. Everybody was happy. I was playing music on my phone, and she's tapping her feet, and people are coming and going, and she had visitors and all kinds of things. And then a different kind of doctor came in, and was the head of the gastrointestinal group, and said, you know, Mrs. Floyd, we've been looking at that CAT scan, and what they had told her before when they were down on their knees with her right in their face was, this is inoperable pancreatic cancer, which is why they moved to palliative care and hospice. And the doctor comes in and says, you know, we've been looking at this CAT scan, and we don't think it's inoperable pancreatic cancer. We think this is a mass that you've had for a long, long time. And you have lived with it very well. And we think you will continue to live with it, that it is really slow growing, and it's not really bothering you. So we're going to just put you back on your regular diet, let you have all the liquids you want, and send you home. Because really what we think it is the antibiotics are upsetting your stomach. Now, I think that came from, I'm happy with my life. I don't think it was, let's treat that Winnie Floyd manifests health and is up to eating and walking and being that expression of life that we think she should be. All of the practitioners were knowing that she was held in the arms of love. That she had whatever she needed to do whatever it is she chose to do. And she chose to be happy. To say, my life is happy. I'm happy. I'm having a great time right now here in this hospital room. And her diagnosis changed. Same picture, different response. From one response of, you're going to be dead inside of 3 months, to, nah, you're going to live a long life, you just happen to have a mass, so what? So what? I was thinking about that and her statement of, it's inside of you. And what a shift that is from this idea that I know she grew up with and I grew up with, that there is an outside power that holds the circumstances of your life. That this outside power decides when you're going to leave. It decides when you're going to come in. It decides whether or not you're going to have a great life or whether you're going to have a sucky life. This outside power, this outside God does that. And for this shift to happen, to say, I can have anything, and in her language, that I ask for. We're still working on that. No, Mom, you're not asking, because who are you asking? There's nobody to ask. There's only something to know. I can have anything that I know clearly that I can have, but I have to do the work inside of me. For her to have that shift, to go from the outside power, the devil, the Savior, the sin, the blessings, all of that, to this awareness that says it's inside of me, really is the crux of the whole teaching. And I thought that was pretty good for her at 93 to be able to rattle that off to a doctor in the midst of all of this other stuff. To be able to just be coherent enough to say that in such a nutshell that we believe we can have anything as long as we're willing to do the work inside. And how do we do the work inside? We don't go and get 3 jobs. We don't go beat ourselves to death. We become happy. We become joy-filled. We don't fight life. It's not to say that we don't direct it, but we don't fight because there's nothing to fight. You're going to tell me that something major has gone on in my body, that I'm leaving this plane? I'm going to be happy now. I'm going to be happy right here and right now. And what that does is that brings into form all like experiences that are in alignment with happiness. And so the next thing we know, she's discharged and home, and the family's showing up today to have a party for her. It's a happy thing. It's a happy thing. Our job is to be happy. Our job is to know what we want. The first thing is we can have anything that we want, anything that we ask for, anything that we know. However you want to language it, I don't care right now. I'll care. Come to class on Monday night, we'll fine-tune it all. But right now, you can have anything. You can have anything as long as you're willing to do the work inside. And the work is not about, oh, it's so hard, I have to struggle and suffer, I'm such a victim. It's not that. It's about knowing who you are, knowing what life is, and holding that energy of joy and watching it show up in a very joyous way. And it can happen right out of the blue. There must have been 10 doctors that came in telling her all the problems that she had. She didn't care. She didn't listen. She was tapping her feet, listening to music. It's a 93-year-old woman, right? Some rock and roll on. Tapping her feet, listening to music, deciding to be happy in this moment. And not to give her power away to what other people were saying. They were saying, oh, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. She said, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not going to do any of that. I don't choose to do any of that. I've had a great life. I've had 95 years of a great life. And I'm happy. And then came that last doctor. Just like the other ones. Look all the same. They got the robes, and by the time they get in to see her, they've got the gowns on because they're not really sure what's going on. They all kind of look the same, but this one was a different reflection of her state of mind. And it doesn't matter how many times people have shown up in our lives to tell us what's wrong with us, or what the problem is, or why things look dark. If we stay happy, if we stay clear, if we know who we are, then sooner or later one will come along, a reflection of life, an experience, a circumstance that will say, no, all of those other things were wrong. It's all completely different. This is nothing. That thing that everybody else thought was such a big deal, it's nothing. And you're going to be fine. As long as we get inside of us the wherewithal to grab hold of what we know, which is that we can have anything, as long as we're willing to do the work inside. Now that's a 93-year-old woman, 95, depending on who's talking, really, that's got all of the major authority figures in her world telling her what is so, and turning it around just like that. So I ask you, who are your authority figures? And what are they telling you? Do they come with white smocks on and stethoscopes and name badges? Do they come with dollar signs? Are they your boss? Are they your landlord? Are they your spouse? Who are the authority figures in your life telling you what your future holds? You don't have to listen if it's not what you want to hear. You don't have to give in to their opinions of you. I love what Terry Cole Whitaker said. She said, "What you think of me is none of my business. The only thing that's my business is what I think of me." You don't have to listen to people who don't see you clearly, who don't really know. They think they know, but they don't really know because they don't know who you are. You don't have to listen. You don't have to agree. You don't have to buy into their verdict. But what you have to do is do the work inside. And that may be seeing friends. It may be laughing. It may be tapping your foot to the music. It may be looking at your life and calling it good and very good. That my life is great. I'm happy with it. I'm at peace with who I am. And all is well. And then what you'll find is that all of those opinions disappear. And the one that is a true reflection of who you are right now shows up and says, "Oh my gosh, everything's changed. You've got plenty of money. You've got a great job. You've got a wonderful place to live. I love you. I like being around you. Everything is working out perfectly because you did the work inside of you." And so it is.